everybody, thanks for watching. Just a quick reminder that Saturn and Satan Final is now available, as well as Stock Market Final. Make sure you guys grab those if you haven't seen them. For Never Pay Again members, as I talked about on the live, make sure you guys grab that link. I emailed everybody the link. Check your emails. I sent the emails out again for you guys to grab the link. So when you get that link for Frequency and Vibration Volume 3, as well as the God of 2025, you will also see those two videos, Stock Market Final and Saturn Satan Final. So if you paid the $9.99 and you got those two videos, now you can go back to Podia and you'll see those new two videos there. You guys do not have to purchase it. You don't have to pay the $9.99 if you don't want to. You can go on Merkabah Academy and it is there. As I said, the reason why I did that is so we can backdoor Podia. As I said, they only allow 100 emails. So to get around that, so I can be able to send everybody the latest videos on Podia, when you purchase that $9.99 two videos, I can keep uploading the next videos in that same link. So that's how we get around the whole 100 emails. So all I got to do is just upload the newest video onto that link every time it comes out. But again, it will still be on Merkabah Academy. I just did that in case there's an incident where you have an issue or you just want to download the video quickly, but you'll still be able to go to the Never Pay Again section and see those videos. It'll be right there, as well as the latest 12 or 15 videos. So that's how we get around the whole issue with Podia. And, make sure you guys grab that so you can get through that whole issue. Also, thanks to everybody who participated in my third live stream. I appreciate everybody who came out. It was quick. Well, it wasn't quick. It was like almost 3 hours. But talked about a lot. Everybody understand what's going on now with Biden dropping out of the presidential race and Kamala Harris stepping in as the nominee. And, she's running. And we know what happened. Trump beat the last female that was running for president, which was Hillary Clinton. So, it would be crazy if she picks her as the vice president nominee or what have you. So we'll see. That's what everybody's, waiting for, to see who she's going to choose. It's crazy to expect. We all knew something was going to happen with Biden. Nobody expected him to make it through all this. What is he, 81? Another 4 years would be crazy. He's at the end of his, his life. He needs to just go, chill with the grandkids, retire, whatever. The guy been in, service in the political scene for over 40 years, like 48 years, something like that. So it's crazy for them to basically try to get him to run. And we all figured something would happen with that situation. I certainly didn't think he would make it through this far. But it's crazy how long they waited. November is around the corner. It's crazy how long the Democrats waited to even, get him to step down or even, put her out there as being their best choice to run against Trump. But it just goes to show you how all this shit is, is bullshit. They already know who the president's going to be. We all know this. We know how this stuff works. No election is going to decide who the president will be. We all understand that. But it's weird because, it just gives you more insight and more understanding for you to see that it's all some pit bullshit, because this is sloppy. It's really sloppy when you look at it. It's just weird that you would wait so long to drop out and to even give her a shot. She had a better chance having a full campaign to run for president, and it's going to be an uphill battle. But when you look at everything that happened with Trump so far, his following has gotten larger. A lot more people have gotten behind him. So it's going to be a real uphill battle for her, and trying to win against him. This is as far as like popularity or what have you. We all understand, as I said. We all know. They already know who's going to win. But they always do this. It's always something towards the end. And it can go left, it can go right. We don't know what the agenda really is. But it's definitely intriguing now to see how this stuff is shaping out. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. As I said, to me, you can't have a presidential election. You can't have no election that's electoral. We have, mail-in ballots that you can count. But to me, there's no way, especially with the way technology is today, that we can have a legit, presidential election or any type of election with electoral votes where we don't know what's happening. They say this person won. We don't know who the hell won. We don't know what's going on. We don't know who the people actually picked because they're telling us, and we think that that's what happened. We're going by this, media who has notoriously lied to us and put out a bunch of propaganda, put us against each other. It's bullshit. There's no way we can trust the press and trust CNN and freaking all these people to give us a true count. It's no way. So to me, I think that's one of those things that should always be the old way. And we just going to have to take the time, to do a paper count where votes are counted, under camera, and people can see the count no matter how long it takes. If we wanted to watch it, we can watch it. We can see the count. And it just should be like a bunch of people counting votes and something like that, to where we know that this person was legitimately picked for president, which, that sounds all well and good in a system that is not controlled, but even still, it's controlled. Like I said, when you really think about a president and the whole notion of a presidency and a person just running and then walking into the White House and taking a job, like, how does that work? It just don't make sense when you really look at it. Any job that you take this, we're talking about the highest level corporate job, and you walk into a company, you have to have knowledge. You have to have like some type of understanding on how to do this. Trump, he's a real estate investor. Like, this guy comes in and becomes president. Well, when he did win in 2016, and we're supposed to allow this dude to run the free world. I mean, just think about how negligent that is as a company. If you allow somebody to come in off the street who got some background or whatever, nothing to do with your company, but to come in and run your company. It don't make sense. It don't make sense for, America to allow something like that to happen. It should definitely be somebody who's been in politics or has a background in any of this stuff. His foreign relations is off. There's no way you can know how to run this entire country and deal with these other countries, especially at a time right now when we're, possibly going to war. So this is some of the challenges that they believe that she'll face because, Trump got the woman's vote. I mean, women voted for him over Hillary running. So Hillary would have been the first woman president, but, more women voted for Trump. So that's weird to look at. And it's probably going to be the same situation here, especially with, Kamala, not being white. And we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, again, stuff is all set up. It's WWE. They got they know who the winner is going to be, and what the agenda is already going to be is already set. Somebody sent me the whole Simpsons meme with Camilla Harris dressed just like how Lisa was dressed when she became the first woman president on The Simpsons. So it's like The Simpsons did it again. But something to look at, something to think about. So we'll see what happens and how it all unfolds. It's a lot with that. I just really, I really don't even get into presidential politics or any type of politics for real. As far as actively, voting and stuff like that, it's just, we all know it doesn't matter who wins, they're going to win. So yeah, anybody who's still having issues with the login, still working on that, getting that straightened out. It's a lot of people sent emails. I'm going to be updating accounts and taking care of all that stuff. So, stand by for that. Make sure you guys, again, clear your browser cache, restart your computer, try different internet browsers. You should be able to log straight in to Merkabah Academy without any issues. I don't understand what the issue is. I'm waiting on WordPress to see what's going on. They're supposedly working on it. But it works fine on my computers and a bunch of other people's computers because I see them on the Academy. So, stand by for that. We'll get a permanent fix for that soon. So yeah, we still updating the site anyway, so it's all good. Probably once we finish updating the site completely, it probably fix all the issues because I have to go back and backtrack to make sure plugins and everything like that works. So code as well. So yeah, we're gonna get into this video, and thanks to everybody who again participated in the live. Make sure you guys grab Saturn Satan Final. It is the last one. As I said, it's the best. Save the best for last, and you'll see how everything leads up to what we talked about in that video. Stock market final is out. Make sure you guys grab that. And I have Black and Morris is coming up next, and a few other videos. We'll get back into the Biblical Bible series. Those videos are going to be coming, and a lot more. So yeah, stay tuned. Thanks again, guys, and yeah, let's get into this video. Now, when you pay attention with Zeus, you could just see, one, how he is exactly like the God of the Bible, does good things, does bad things, evil stuff. You can see how these people, the Greek gods, have sort of emotions like men. It's the same thing with God, jealousy and rage or what have you. And you can see how, it's bad things that happen to the regular people. Same thing in the Bible. And when you just keep on reading the stories and understanding how you can compare them to Greek mythology, I mean, it's crazy. It's so easy to do so, to compare them, because a lot of the stuff just fits. The terminology, the wording is exactly the same in Greek mythology as it is in the Bible. So we know we have heaven and hell. You have Hades, you have Elysium. So remember in Elysium being like heaven, just like in the movie, Elysium was beautiful. And this is where like rich people live, and, you had to be selected to get up there or what have you. It's the same thing. Elysium was basically heaven. And a lot of scholars, all of the people who I listed before, all of the scholars all wrote about Elysium and about what it was. So now this is what Pindar had to say. This is Pindar Odes. For those living a righteous life, the good receive a life free from toil, not scraping with the strength of their arms the earth, nor the water of the sea, for the sake of a poor sustenance. But in the presence of the honored gods, those who gladly kept their oaths enjoy a life without tears, while the others undergo a toil that is unbearable to look at. Those who have persevered 3 times on either side to keep their souls free from all wrongdoing follow Zeus's road to the end, to the tower of Kronos, where ocean's breeze blow around the island of the blessed, and flowers of gold are blazing, some from splendid trees on land, while water nurtures others. With these wreaths and garlands of flowers they entwine their hands according to the righteous counsel of Rhadamanthus, whom the great father, the husband of Re, whose throne is above all others, keeps close beside him as his partner. That is from the Odes of Pindar. Now, when you pay attention to Greek mythology, you have some scholars who write Kronos being the god, the ruler of the underworld. But Rhadamanthus basically roams the underworld and roams Elysium, I should say, but he is a judge of the underworld. Rhadamanthus, his name translates to soothsayer, to a person who conquers, one who conquers or what have you. So Rhadamanthus is also put there in Elysium. He is the son of Zeus and Europa. Remember, Europa is where Europe comes from. Now, according to a lot of Greek scholars, a lot of Greeks who wrote about Elysium was actually on Earth. It was supposed to be at the far western edge for all you flat earthers, edge of the planet, of the Earth. So now this is what Plutarch had to say about Elysium. Now I'm going to read this briefly. Plutarch says, "These are 2 in number, separated by a very narrow strait. They are 10,000 furlongs distance from Africa, and are called the Islands of the Blessed." Now, this is what Diodorus said. Diodorus, in his first book, suggested that the Elysian fields, which were much celebrated by Grecian poetry, corresponded to the beautiful plains in the neighborhood of Memphis, which contained the tombs of that capital city of Egypt. He further intimated that the Greek prophet Orpheus composed his fable about the afterlife when he traveled to Egypt and saw the customs of the Egyptians regarding the rights of the dead. Now, Diodorus' first book, Library of History, Book 1. So now, when you look at the synopsis, it's saying here, Egypt, the origin of the world and of civilized life. The gods, the first men. Egypt, the land, the Nile, and its flooding. Egypt, the first kings. Egypt, customs and religion. This is why I tell people to follow Diodorus, because when you understand what he wrote in his writings, he basically is one of the only Greek scholars besides Herodotus who a lot of people distort his work
who basically was giving it to you straight up, was telling you that, the Greeks basically, when you pay attention, is taking this stuff from ancient Egypt and repurposing it for their own gain, for their own benefit. So when you get into a lot of his work, he goes into what the ancient Egyptians was talking about. Now, let me point something out, because you're going to get confused, a lot of people. All of this stuff, and this is going to sound crazy, it's going to make a lot of people skeptical and doubtful, but you got to understand, you can't trust none of this stuff. You have to go into every single bit of all of these scholars and their work and think about it and say, well, possibly somebody came in there and changed what was said, or took out or added some things to a lot of the works. It's very tough. This is why you got to keep doing research and keep looking before you just accept what they were saying, because a lot of stuff possibly was changed. But when you can find what these people are talking about from multiple scholars and find actual facts and proof to back up what they were speaking to, then you can rely on a lot of these scholars more so. This is what I have found to be true with Diodorus and with Herodotus, which I know a lot of people say Herodotus is not proven true, but a lot of stuff that's important, his works is proven. So I pay attention to these Greek scholars because a lot of them really put out this information, because what you got to understand was everybody wasn't in agreement on what happened, plain and simple. And you had a lot of people who started to understand the spirituality of the ancient Egyptians and what they was doing and how all that was taken away. And a lot of people didn't have faith in the direction that the Greeks was headed. But when you take a step back and look at it all again, we see this stuff dealing with the same things we see in biblical religion. We look at Egyptian mythology and we see it's talking about the same things, corresponding with Greek mythology, Greek mythology corresponding with Egyptian mythology. All this stuff is talking about the same stuff. And as we understand it, going back to energy, vibration, frequency, and what have you, when you get really deep into it. So we see clearly in Greek mythology that they're talking about the planet Saturn. We see clearly that the moons of Saturn are named after Greek gods. All of this is pointing to Saturn. Again, when you start getting into this stuff, it's a reason this stuff is corresponding with these things. And when you get deeper into it, you start to understand what they're talking about, as we'll get into down the line. But suffice it to say that when you look at Egyptian mythology, that they are speaking about Saturn as well. And then, of course, they're not going to go and name it as Saturn. But since we understand that Greek mythology took from Egyptian mythology, we can look at it and say that they were speaking about the same thing. So, as I said before, when the Egyptians are referring to the sun, I believe they're talking about Saturn as a sun and not about the sun we see when we wake up in the morning. Everything, all the aspects that they are speaking about fits Saturn being the sun and not our sun being what they're talking about, because our sun does not have an eye. Our sun does not fit with the description of the the pineal gland and what everything is speaking to, as far as the Saturn looking like an eye and it having all the characteristics that fit Saturn that does not fit our sun. So clearly it's talking about Saturn. And don't get me wrong, you have the ancient Egyptians, of course, referring to the sun that we see today as well. You just have to understand when they're talking about what. Now, it's going to make a lot more sense when we get down the line and start talking about this more. But now remember, I talked about in Ancient History, Volume 1, the Phoenicians. And the Phoenicians' land being part of the Egyptian Empire. And you got to remember, the Phoenicians worshipped El, so did the Canaanites. So when we find El, we know we're talking about the Phoenicians, we know we're talking about the Canaanites, or the Phoenician Canaanites, and we know El to be Saturn. Now, what they'll tell you when you look and you start digging and doing this research, that another name for El was Elah, I-L-A, Elah. And again, this is why I tell you, do your own research. Don't pay attention to what these people say unless it fits, unless you can really get proof for it. Now, Elah wasn't another name for El. Elah was the moon. Elah is the moon god. This is what it's referring to. See, it says a rare spelling, Elah. No, it's talking about a moon god, the moon god. So we can also find Elah in Hinduism. So Elah in Hinduism is the progenitor of the lunar dynasty. So what is the lunar dynasty? It says lunar dynasty. In Hindu mythology, the lunar dynasty is one of the four principal houses of the Kshatriya Varna, or warrior ruling caste. This legendary dynasty was descended from the moon, while the other principal houses, the solar dynasty, claims descent from the sun. Then it says here Soria, or Sora, Soras. What are we talking about here? We're talking about Islam. So let's go back to Ilah and understand what Ilah in Hinduism, Ilah can change from male to female and vice versa. So it says here, as a woman, Ilah married Buddha, the god of the planet Mercury and the son of the lunar deity Kshatriya, which Kshatriya means moon god. So Ilah married Buddha, or Buddha Graha, which Buddha Graha is the god of Mercury. Now it says here, Buddha in Punic mythology is also a deity. He is also known as Soumya, son of the moon. So what these researchers have not put together or are not telling you is you have El, Saturn god, the god of Saturn, and Ilah, El, which they changed to Al Ilah. Now the thing is, when people start seeing this Ilah, they started separating it, which they should, as the moon god. But when they seen it in reference with El, they figured it was another name for El, knowing that it had to deal with the moon. There's no way you can separate the two. You can't see Ilah and think it's another name for El, which is why I don't know why they put that there. But Ilah is the moon. So you have El Ilah, and what they don't understand that the ancients had already figured out was the connection between the moon and the planet Saturn. When you start studying it with the knowledge of ancient Egyptian mythology, it shows you how much Greek mythology copied from ancient Kemet. It shows you exactly what the ancient Greeks admit themselves, that one, they was going into ancient Kemet. They were studying and learning with the Egyptians. And when you pay attention to Greek mythology, you can see that they was taking that information and bringing it back to ancient Greece and basically setting up systems with this information, with this knowledge. And it was sort of esoteric when you pay attention, because you have with ancient Egyptian mythology the hidden meanings behind the gods, as I have shown you through the videos about how we can look at certain gods and deities and ascribe them to parts of the body, or to celestial events, or to nature itself. And the Greeks was doing the exact same thing, taking these powers, these principles of reality, nature that exist, and bringing them into Greek culture, creating these stories and mythologies, just like the ancient Egyptians, and putting these stories out there. Now, one of the things is, when you go back and you study the ancient world, and one of the reasons why this is really important, this series, is so that you can see that we can go back far. Further we go back, the more we see that so many different civilizations had mythologies. We find so many different civilizations throughout the world, some with remnants, artifacts, what have you, claiming to be much older than ancient Kemet. The thing is this: there is no two ancient civilizations on this planet that we have discovered that we can find as much information about as ancient Greece and ancient Kemet. And you have to think about this, because one, we can go back 3000 BCE with ancient Kemet, Narma, 3000 BCE. I mean, that's long. And it seems as if when you get to about 1000 BCE, you start getting in Greek mythology, the Greek culture. You start hearing about these Greek myths. And we can't find any other culture that we can follow so far back and have so much detail. We're talking about what the Homer, Odyssey, the Iliad, the whole world of Greek mythology and Greek stories, from the Orphic Theogonies, as I'm going to talk about, Hesiod, his Theogonies. I mean, this stuff is old. We're talking about 1000 to 700 BCE in this time frame. We can't find nothing else from no other culture or civilization on this planet that dates back so far with so much information. Think about that. So when we get into the whole conversation about, conquering, and about civilizations that was conquered, how information was lost and burned, or what have you, this is one of the reasons. But again, you got to pay attention to the fact that for somehow, the Greek and ancient Egyptians, their whole theology, their whole history, a lot of it survived. Now, the ancient Egyptians, because one, they put it in stone, and the stuff was so beautiful and so important that they couldn't dare destroy it all. They took away what they could take away. They hid what they hid, and we have what we have. But we've been able to piece together large parts of what we have today. Now, in Greek mythology, and what you're going to see in this video, and what you're going to understand by the end of it, is how much we are immersed in the same story over and over again. It's going to make a lot more sense later in a second, but it's amazing. And the main point is you have to really figure out, and this is going to show you clear by the end of this video, who exactly is in power and what exactly they are doing and how crazy it is. There's a lot of stuff people are not seeing and not realizing when you pay attention to Greek mythology, when you pay attention to the stories that we have been told, the information that's out there, and you start to put it in context with everything else. And then slowly the picture starts to reveal itself and you start to see what's going on. Now, you have many people talking about Sumer, ancient Mesopotamia, and all these other ancient places that people want to proclaim, is older than ancient Kemet, and a lot of places, not saying that, ancient Egypt was the oldest, the first civilization or what have you, because we know that's not true. But it's a reason. It's a reason why. We can talk about all these other ancient civilizations, but it's a reason why they go back to Kemet. Ancient Kemet is the most researched thing in all of history, in all of recorded history. There is nothing that has been researched more than ancient Egypt. Nothing that has been copied more than ancient Egypt. As I've shown you guys, we owe so much of our system, the things we have from, toys, dolls, board games, all the way up to sports, we find back in ancient Kemet. So there has been no other civilization in the history of mankind that we know of that has been copied more than ancient Kemet, that has been mimicked. I mean, look, Freemasonry. Everything that entails comes from ancient Kemet. So much has been stolen. These people that's studying the doctrine of the occult and all these esoteric, books and meanings, this stuff goes back to ancient Kemet. It doesn't come from Sumer and Mesopotamia or, the Mayans, the Olmecs, or what have you. And when you go back and start looking at a lot of these civilizations that people are talking about, the information we can trace back to ancient Kemet, as I have been showing you guys. So it's a reason why they fixated on ancient Kemet. It's a reason why they put that pyramid on the back of the dollar bill. The reason why everything that we see is, we could trace it back there, is because there's something about that civilization. And from my research, to me, it is the last remnants of the civilization of who the ancient Egyptians called the gods, the ones with power. It's the same thing when you get into Greek mythology that they are talking about. So you have this line to where you have this civilization of ancient Egyptians who they say, and the Greeks say, that before these people, somehow in Kemet, before they came, there was this civilization or these gods, these beings that ruled before the dynasties, before Norma, before the people who we know from ancient Kemet that we have been studying over the years, that they talk about before them were the gods. And it's so weird how the Greeks put it, same type of way, that you have this world of the gods before men was created. And it's so many different stories, all with esoteric meanings about how we came about that you really got to dig into. But again, a lot of people want to talk about these ancient civilizations. It's a reason why, and as you're going to see in this video, when you pay attention, one, it all goes back to ancient Greece. And we know the Greeks stole it from ancient Kemet, so it goes back there. So it's a lot of stuff people are missing. The original man, the melanated people of the planet, is somehow, put in this prison, this situation where we are not allowed to progress in any areas as far as, intellectual advancement or any type of advanced civilization. We have been enslaved and oppressed, for a reason. And it just goes back to what I was saying. I mean, think about it. You have the Greeks, you have the Romans talking about the ancient Egyptians, how great and mighty they were, about the Greeks and Romans coming in there to learn and study with the Egyptians. Think about what they was able to do and accomplish. Think about what they could have brought to the people, what they was trying to do. Think about who in their right mind would cause the collapse of such a civilization and a people. So much they did to help, so much information and knowledge that they had. Why would you want to cause the downfall of these people who never raised their hand to no other civilization or group of people? They was fixated on one thing. Knowing who they were, being spiritual people, and figuring out what took place, what happened, how to get it back. They wasn't in a position to where they was trying to go out and conquer the planet, as we see with the Europeans. So why take down their civilization? Everything that we see with the fall of Kemet and the information, the knowledge, just the way it was left, was as if, we can't use it. I mean, you got to look at it that way, because that's exactly what it was. So the only way you would cause the downfall of that civilization is if it does not benefit you. If you can't get out of it what you want out of it, but you don't want nobody else to get something out of it either. And that's exactly what happened. By the same token, you can ask the question, you are now in possession of the greatest civilization that you have ever known. You have it. You conquered it. It's yours. Why not keep it? Why not hold on to it? And, basically they kind of sort of did, and they still own it. And, they kind of sort of still use it when you understand that situation. But the reason why the Europeans, of course, couldn't keep it and rule it and be the face of Kemet is, of course, because of the heat. And the fact that other surrounding civilizations knew who the ancient Egyptians was. And just the simple fact of keeping that kingdom and that system going would keep resonating with us Africans. Keep us in the knowledge and understanding that that's us, that's our power, not yours. You just conquered it. So what is it you're trying to hide from us? So it's better that we leave this stuff. Don't tell nobody about it. Don't talk about it. Don't teach the Africans about it. Just, twist it. Make them be unsure of the situation in ancient Egypt, which is what they did. See, they couldn't be there. White men can't be there in that heat, excavating. You heard about the so-called curse of the mummy, what kept happening to those Englishmen when they was down there. They was dying from cancer, strokes, and all kinds of stuff because of the heat. So if you own the Arabs, if you run in Islam, that system, you can have the Arabs, go in there, excavate. They can withstand the heat. And since you own that system, since you control Egyptology and these people that's running the country, the artifacts that's found, the information that's found, you can keep under wraps. You can keep the cover up going because you run these people. This is one of the reasons why they let the Arabs in and did not allow us to go back into ancient Egypt to figure out what was there, to uncover it and then have the knowledge, because they knew how important it was. So they secured it for the Arabs and keep it away from us. And that's clear. So it's telling you, I mean, I go back to Kemet a lot. I keep telling people, you guys got to follow what I follow. But everything is pointing there for a reason. It's telling you where to go with the study. Everything falls back to these two groups, the Greeks and the ancient Egyptians, and what was going on. The Greeks taking us into the future. And following anything that they're doing is like, what's the point? Well, we need to be staying with the ancient Egyptians and what they was trying to figure out in the past. That's the key, which, we get into. But it's definitely important to understand that fact, that they did exactly, what they always do. And when I'm giving you guys the Bible series and talking about in Exodus and Deuteronomy and Leviticus and what have you, in Numbers, the spoils of war, and I'm basically using that same MO, going into these civilizations, conquering and taking off with the information, what they can use to keep, building their empire. So even when you look it up in the Bible, from Exodus 12:36, and the Lord had given the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they let them have their requests. Thus they plundered the Egyptians. And again, where in the Bible, where in that story do you see especially in Exodus, where do you see in the story of the Israelites and the Egyptians where the Israelites are basically taking the Egyptian shit? You don't see that. So again, this is another hint of them talking about themselves, the Greeks. The Greeks are the ones who plundered the Egyptians. There's no proof. There's nothing to show that Israelites plundered ancient Kemet. It says the sons of Israel captured the women of Midian and their little ones, and all their cattle and all their flocks and all their goods they plundered. So, it's just giving you the same MO of what the Greeks have been known to do. Conquer civilizations, steal their stuff, keep moving. And the Israelites, as I talk about in the Bible series, being the Greeks. It's going to make a lot of sense as we go on. All this stuff going to come together. Trust me. This is something that people really need to understand and see and make that connection. Because there's a lot of people who still are not sold on the ancient Greeks being the ones behind all of this. And not really getting that understanding that we're talking about the same people here when we're talking about the Romans, when we're talking about the Germans, when we're talking about any other Europeans. They're Europeans. It doesn't matter. They are in this together, whether you believe it or not. Everything else, it's a song and a dance. It's all politics bullshit. All to keep the veil, cover over our eyes about what's really going on and what these beings are really trying to do on this planet.